shall be heard. Please silence your cell phones and refrain from making any noises in the meeting room. May God bless the United States, the state of Tennessee, and DeKalb County.
Yep. Let's pray. Almighty God, we thank you, Lord, for all the things that you have done for us. We thank you, Lord, for who you are. We thank you for giving us your son Jesus to die on a cross for each of us, even though we don't deserve it. But we thank you, Lord, that you did see fit to do that. So, Lord, we can never repay the debt that we owe you. But, Lord, tonight we give you thanks. We also ask you, Lord, just to give us wisdom and discernment. Help us, Lord, to make decisions that are in accordance with what you'd have us do. And, Lord, may things be done in accordance to your will. We thank you for this county, for the ability just to be able to come out and to do this work tonight. For it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our next item on the agenda is roll call.
Tom Chandler. Here. Tony Luna.
Here.
Larry Green.
Here.
Beth Pafford.
Here.
Myron Rhodey. Greg Matthews.
Here.
Andy Pack.
Here.
Matthias Anderson. Glenn Merriman.
Here.
Brandon Donnell.
Here.
Daniel Cripps.
Here.
Jeff Barnes.
Here.
Sabrina Farler.
Here.
Tony Colwell. 3 absent, 11 present.
All right, we have a quorum. Our next item is public comments. Would any member of the public like to come up and speak? State your name and either your address or the district you reside in, and I'll give you 3 minutes.
Steve Cantrell, 5th District. Tonight I want to address something critical that the county government is missing. The county, and I assume its cities, do not have growth plans, specifically phased approaches of where we want our county or respective city to be in 5, 10, 15 years. In other words, a roadmap to a destination and how we plan or want to get there. The lack of a DeKalb County government roadmap has resulted in a reactive vice proactive stance as we have stopped to address new situations we should have planned and funded for. In that light, there is one area we can agree on because it impacts everyone in this room and listening on the radio. DeKalb County's road infrastructure finds its state highways in bad shape and not getting any better. But this is not the road supervisor's fault, although a lot of people are quick to point a finger. The monies received by the road supervisor from his revenue sources, to include the state, are not and have not been in the past enough to maintain the roads, much less improve them. This is why I am proposing the county government establish a road or wheel tax that is dedicated to the following. 90% of every dollar would go to the road budget on top of vice instead of funds already allocated or slated for the roads. The other 10% would go to the county government emergency vehicles, including fire department. To be clear, as envisioned, road or wheel tax funds could not be diverted, that is used for any other county issue. DeKalb County's road structure and the emergency vehicles that travel it are essential to the well-being of every citizen of this county, for example, school buses and ambulances, not to mention they bring businesses and tourist revenue into our county tax base. Today's road supervisor and those who follow him need dedicated and growing funds to address today and future road infrastructure challenges. This is something that cannot continue to be ignored. We have over 28,000 vehicles registered in DeKalb County, and that number is sure to grow. Whether a road tax is $5, $10, or $50, this would translate into much needed additional funding for both our roads and our emergency vehicles. But unless we address road infrastructure soon, the problem will continue to get worse and become more expensive to address in the future. A dedicated road or wheel tax is a roadmap to a much needed destination. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Come on up and state your name and either your address or the district you reside in.
Yes, my name's Brandon Foster. We're in District 1. I'm here on behalf of the Wolf Creek, Buffalo Valley community in regards to the waste site, convenience site that was pulled. I'll just read from what I know here. According to the WJLE post I seen online, Brian Reed and Bo Hoskins, there was a conversation held in regards to that site. There's a grant out there, I think, that's manned. For some manned, for manned convenience sites, and I think that was the inquiry that was proposed there. The disposal site needs to be removed on TDOT right-of-way easement, I believe is what Mr. Hoskins stated. Since then, I spoke with Mr. Hoskins on the 26th. He could not verify if the easement existed. If it doesn't, he has no call on waste site property. And seen no problem with the waste site returning, manned or unmanned. He didn't care or had no voice on that. The Register of Deeds has no such records for the property. I spoke with Daniel out there. Tennessee law reads an easement is not perfected if it is not filed with the deeds office. There also, if that's the case and no one owns this property, it's kind of a mystery property from what I understand. Adverse possession for the county property might be an option. The dump site is adjacent to properties that measure 8 foot off the old Buffalo Valley Road and 12 foot off the state highway, Wolf Creek Road or Medley Aminette, based on how far back you want to go look at what the road's defined as. March 31st, I spoke with Mr. Brian Reed and disclosed the information I had learned from Mr. Hoskins about TDOT easement. Mr. Reed stated that he cannot return due to illegal dumping after the site was pulled, because we had illegal dumping the first weekend that the site was pulled. There were no signs, there was no barriers, anything up at that time. So, and I pointed that out to him. Did not happen after those signs were posted or the barrier was created. So a few bad actors on that first weekend when there was no communication to the community that we were even pulling the dump site. Some citizens knew the area, did not even know where to dump their waste. I think that goes to the growth that we're experiencing in the county. The community wasn't sure if the site was returning or not. Again, no clarity to the community, no communication there. Elderly citizens are having to drive 12 plus miles to dispose, passing a Putnam County dump site on their way to do that, just as a side note. Mr. Reed then stated that the site since it has been removed, it cannot return. When asked if the county I asked if they were going to remove the other unmanned sites in the county at Temperance Hall and Austin Bottom. He stated that they have been grandfathered in.
Sir, your 3 minutes have expired.
Oh, okay. All right. So that means I can't say any more.
That's correct.
Oh, all right. Handed you guys a copy of all that information. You, Mr. Mayor, I've attempted to call you a couple times, left you a couple voicemails. I haven't heard a call back from you there. This community matter is important to us, and I think if you look at the bottom of this sheet, we generate enough revenue on that side of the county to support a waste management site there. I just challenge the county to look deeper into this. I have found no documentation that supports the reason why we pulled it in the first place.
Would anybody like to speak to the commission? Any other members of the public? Come on up, state your name and either your address or the district you reside in. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Randy Caldwell. I live at 655 Shady Place. That's my residence. I also have a place of business at 106 West Walnut, the Purple Door, and I'm a business owner here. I haven't been here before to speak because I understood that the county was pursuing relocating the jail outside of the downtown area, something I was very supportive of. But I've come to understand there's a little momentum towards keeping it downtown, and I'm here to speak as a business owner down there, and I'm vehemently against that. Give you a little background on myself. I was a land planner, landscape architect for 38 years, specializing in land planning. During that period, I worked for private developers all throughout the state of Tennessee on various projects, including urban infill to rural developments. But more importantly, I worked with a lot of municipalities in the land planning arena by doing land use studies, corridor studies, identifying how they could make the best use of land use within their community. And more importantly, that also included downtown revitalization plans. As part of that, I've had the pleasure of working with numerous experts in downtown redevelopment, including architects, including marketing strategists, and other consultants that expertise were in the downtown redevelopment arena. And this includes leaders like yourself who were part of the process, intimate part of that, who had say in that process. Our process involved a couple things. One, developing opportunities and constraints. Two, gathering input. And number three, creating a vision. Not a vision for just 1 to 2 years, 2 to 5 years, or 5 to 10, but a vision for 10 to 20 years. My view, based on my expertise, based on living and breathing downtown every day, because I'm down there every day with my business, as a resident, as an investor in our downtown, I've invested a lot of money, a lot of time and effort in there, and someone has specialized in land use policies. This is a bad use for our downtown. It's not the proper use for there. Now, talk about constraints. Our biggest constraint in our downtown is that a majority of the uses out there are municipal uses. Marketing strategists will tell you for a vibrant downtown, to make the maximum use of it, it needs to be retail, restaurant, entertainment, uses that generate revenue within the district. A jail is not an appropriate use for that. However, opportunity arises from constraints. You have an opportunity to convert a valuable property asset to a land use that will generate sales revenue, activate the square, and also be compatible with long-term vision for the square. You have the opportunity to control the future by using an RFP process. You have the ability to seek a development partner that can redevelop that piece of property to a higher and better use in there that will be more compatible with the land uses down there. You also have the opportunity to be a visionary, to look beyond short-term vision. That's what I think got you here in the first place. This was kicked down the road for many years, and now you're in a place with long-term visioning. You have the ability to avoid that. So I'm asking you to be bold for our community and downtown's sake and be visionary. Locating the outside downtown will allow the opportunity for it to be an economic driver and a revenue generator. And our future and livelihood downtown depends on that, making smart decisions based on long-term solutions. Help us thrive and continue to contribute to the community as business owners down there. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you tonight, and I especially appreciate what you do. I know it's not an easy job. You make decisions. It doesn't make everybody happy, but I'm asking you to make the right decision from a long-term standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. State your name and either your address or district you reside in. I'll give you 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening. Bert Driver, 3rd District. To the Commission, I would like to say that we, the Friends of Historic Downtown Smithville and the Merchants Association there, stand united to oppose the County Commission's proposal to build a 3-story jail detention center in our downtown area. Since our establishment in 1838, Smithville has thrived as a vibrant community, and the location represents some of the most valuable and irreplaceable real estate in the entire county. So to that point, is a jail in downtown the highest and best use? Our historic downtown generates significant tax revenue that benefits both the city and the county. Time and again, we have demonstrated Smithville leads the county in tax income, which underscores our vital role in the community. Yet, despite our contributions, we feel that our voices have been overlooked, and to our dismay, there has been very little engagement with the local business community from this body of government. The millions of dollars that have been invested to revitalize our downtown by private entities speaks volume about the commitment to this community. No doubt we're all committed to this community. Specifically, downtown Smithville and that community feel like pushing forward with a plan that is ill-suited to our historic area. So we urge the County Commission to reconsider, seek an alternative location that would effectively serve our needs now and in the future. This proposal is nothing more than a Band-Aid solution. It will only lead to more problems and greater expenses down the road. So tonight we're here as a unified voice to say, let's work together, find a solution with the property owners downtown, and redevelop what is the gem of the Upper Cumberland. Thank you again for your time and your service.
All right, our next member of the public. State your name and either your address or district you reside in. I'll give you 3 minutes.
Hi, Ken Fennell, 260 August Drive. I don't know what district I'm in, actually. I apologize. Also business owner in downtown Smithville on West Main Street. Not going to repeat a few things here, but as a business owner, my wife and I don't think having the jail downtown is a great idea. But I will say this. I've been in construction 30 years, over 30 years. I've done several $1 billion worth of worked for one of the largest general contractors in the United States. I advise my clients very directly on retrofits and renovations because that first number you see is a bogey. It's the best case scenario. It's the Jedi mind trick of numbers. It's probably not likely going to be that at the end of the day. And you're going to be attracted to it like a moth to the flame, and it's not going to be that. Retrofitting and bringing something that's so old and antiquated up to federal and state code takes a lot of money. It's a demand on the infrastructure that's already crumbling in the city. What you don't know isn't going to be in those bid documents. The architect and the engineers aren't going to pick up everything. So that contractor won't in that hard bid. And at the end of the day, they're going to raise their hand up and ask for change orders. And then they're going to say you're delaying the job because we found asbestos, or we found lead, we found PCBs. There's something in the ground we didn't expect. All those things will start to cause delays. The project will likely not come in on time or under budget. And you'll be wondering how you got there, making that decision. So all these other benefits of not having it downtown you've heard from, but I just want to caution you on that. I'm more than happy to explain a lot of that and go through that, but I have this discussion with clients all the time, and I advise them cautiously on it. Most of the time they decide to do it is because they have no other choice, period. No other choice. We have choices here. We need to make the right choice. It's a hard decision. I understand that. I respect everybody in this room for going through it and doing it. The can's been kicked down the road too long, and the city needs to really think about what's right for the future. Bringing tourism will bring dollars to the city and to the county. Inmates don't. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we're gonna go ahead and truck on. Approval of agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Greg. Anybody want a second? Matthias?
Second, check.
Got a motion by Greg and seconded by Matthias to approve our agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Approval of the minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Motion by Larry,
I'll second.
seconded by Sabrina Farler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. I'd like to call on our trustee, Sean Driver, as we get into our financial reports, to make our trustees report.
Good evening. Every one of you should have received a copy from myself for the trustees report tonight. There is 2 copies. One of those copies is your general ledger. Every year at this time, I go ahead and present that to you to let you know where all of your revenue codes are at this time. Some of you are looking at those numbers and trying to figure out within the budget where those revenue codes are at. So that is what that report is. That's just for your reading after the fact tonight, okay? So you can set that one down, and we'll go to the balance sheet on the original report. All right, so our first page with the assets and liabilities. At this point, with assets and liabilities are in balance at $62,473,266.45 as of today. Your second page, again, my report starts from July 1 up through today. A lot of things happen in the trustee's office as far as a day-to-day basis. So the quarter doesn't really affect me as much as it does you guys with the situations that you're involved in right now. So I make sure that you get to see where you started from and where you're at right now. So beginning balance at July 1 was $45,027,836.02. And again, at that 62 million figure is where we're at today. The two columns that I want you to see on page 2, I did not mark those like I did on the last quarter. Pay close attention to your receipts and your disbursements down at the bottom of that page 2. A lot happens this time of the year right there, and it dissipates after that. Page 3 is just where I sign it for the commission. Skip on to page 4. 2024 taxes at this point, like I've told back in January, we are responsible for around $16.5 million this year. At this time, we're at 94.05% collected. We are a little under. I just want to be honest with you. I turned over a little over $35,000 more to the clerk and master this year for 2023 taxes. The increases have caused some backset, just put it like that. Page 5 lets you know where you were at on 2023 taxes, but the difference is that in that is 2023 taxes, we were at a full base of $12.9 million to collect. And again, 2024 with the 25.5% increase, we were at the $16.5 million. So at 2023 taxes, a year ago on this day, we were at 94.82% collected. So there you go. You're off right now. I always want to say that the trustee likes to say that we'll be at the end of June meeting budget, but I can't say that to you right now because it is slow right now. We do have notices ready to go out tomorrow for collection on May on the delinquent notices for 2024. Is there any questions? None? Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. All right, would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge the trustees' report? Motion by Tony Luna, seconded by Sabrina Farler. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We also have our local option sales tax report. Anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge, approve that report? Motion by Daniel.
Second.
Seconded by Matthias. Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Our Board of Education financial statements. Anybody like to make a motion to approve the Board of Education finance statements?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Myron.
Second.
Seconded by Matthias. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Our DeKalb County Executive Summary Statement. Anybody like to make a motion to approve this financial statement? Motion by Tom Chandler.
Second.
Seconded by Matthias. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. DeKalb County Highway Department financial statement. Motion by Tom.
I'll second.
Seconded by Tony Luna. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Going to our budget amendments. Our first one is, we actually have several. I don't know if y'all want to do these in a bundle. We have 3 Fund 101 budget amendments, one from the library, transferring $1,500 from utilities to other supplies, and $250 from communications to books. We have another that was the comp time, in the amount of $2,833, and it was going back, well, that was coming out of other charges, and he was expending it to his employee salary to pay out comp time. And we had another for our DeKalb and Dwight utility waterline projects, an amount of $35,561.89. This was for the ARP project, rehabbing water lines. All right. Motion
Second.
by Tom to bundle and approve, seconded by Matthias. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Have a Fund 171. It's coming out of fund balance. This is capital projects, $33,438. This is the grant match for the new ambulance. I have a motion to approve Fund 171 budget amendment.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Matthias. Seconded by Tom. Any discussion?
Is this the difference? Is that what this fund is?
This is, yes, this is the difference in the match. Yep. Good question. Any discussion? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Our Fund 122, drug fund. Fund balance $10,525 to other charges. Anybody like to approve this budget amendment for 122?
Make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Jeff.
Second.
Seconded by Andy. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Our committee reports. Have a jail committee meeting minutes. We kind of went over these in our workshop. Does anybody want to make a motion to acknowledge these minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Matthias. Seconded by Tom. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Health, Education, Public Welfare Committee. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge these minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Matthias.
Second.
Seconded by Larry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We have several budget committee minutes. Would anybody like to make a motion to acknowledge these minutes from our budget? I'm sorry. Motion by Tom. All right. Second.
We had a correction on them. Did they get corrected?
They will be corrected, yes.
Do we need
Yep.
to say what that
Yeah, we can
correction
say
needs
it
to
in the
be?
motion if needed. Tom, do you want to, I didn't print new ones off, but
We put these minutes together as one. The correction, I assume you're talking
Yeah.
about the
Daniel. Yep.
replacing Daniel Gibbs with my name because I was absent and I was appointed
Yeah.
member at the time.
You care to turn your mic on?
You want me to repeat that?
No, I'll kind of repeat it as we go through you. So Tom, what Tom is amending his motion to, so in these minutes, we put Daniel Cripps as somebody that attended this meeting as a member. And at the time, Tom Chandler was actually the member of this committee. So that was just an error that we made there. But what Tom is saying is we're going to approve these minutes contingent that gets changed. And it has been. Yep.
And I second that motion.
Yep. All right. And Sabrina seconds. Any discussion? All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. All right. The next one is the appointment of committees. And again, to that point, so Tom has asked to step down from the budget committee and that Daniel Cripps take his position as representation of the first district and on the budget committee. And that's the only change. Anyone like to make a motion to approve that?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Tom, seconded by Myron. Any discussion?
Just to clarify that, each member, one district commissioner from each district is on that budget committee.
That's correct.
That's how he got it.
Yes,
Gotcha.
absolutely, yes. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Appointment of the medical examiner. I would like to appoint Caleb Cantrell as our new medical examiner with the confirmation of the commission.
Make a motion.
Motion by Larry,
Second.
second by Myron. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Medical examiner policy. So we went over this a little bit in our workshop. After doing a little bit more research, we would like to amend the 4 hours to 8 hours, if that's okay with you all. After we looked up the average salary for a MDI is about $15 an hour or so. So they wasn't even making the 100. They were not making anywhere close to the $100 they were making before. So we took that average salary and times it by 8, and then we still would like, because of it being an hourly salary, it's going to be taxed. So they're also going to have that check taxed. So it won't be like at the 1099 they got before. So that is something that has been asked to be done, but that would need to be an amendment in this policy.
I'll make a motion, we accept the policy with 8 hours.
Okay. Tom Chandler made a motion that we approve the medical examiner policy, amending the policy to 8 hours instead of 4. Any seconds?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Tony Luna. Any discussion?
I wouldn't do it if it was 20 hours. So I commend them for doing it.
I'm sure they'll appreciate it. All right. Seeing no opposition, we'll vote by acclamation. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. You were not handed out the annual progress report for solid waste, so if y'all want to wait and do that next month, or we'll catch it, we can also approve that through a committee meeting, so we can do a public works committee meeting and have that passed through that committee too. It just needs a vote by some form of meeting, either committee or full. So we can skip that and go to the county policy and procedures. I sent an email out over the weekend. Hopefully everyone had received it, the request by Ms. Sabrina Farler to see the old policy and the new policy. We also had an error to correct in this policy as well. And we were also looking to change, make a revision while we were adjusting it, that if a county employee works 20 years, they get 20 days of vacation time. We stopped, I believe, at 10 years, and we didn't really have anything for our long-term employees as far as retention. So with that being said, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the revision of the personnel policy?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Matthias.
I'll second.
Seconded by Greg Matthews. Is there any discussion?
When would this go into effect, 4 weeks vacation? Would it be immediately or after the July 1st?
If I understand it correctly, it'll be immediately.
How
You're talking
wide
about the 20 days vacation?
Yeah. How will that impact anybody's, because I ain't looked up, see how many people's got 20 years in.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of people that have 20-year employees, but the ones that do, I'm sure would appreciate it. I know I've spoke to several. I don't think it would make a big difference.
So can we just set it to start July the 1st with a new budget?
Yeah,
starts?
we can do that too. Yeah. If you want to amend the motion to be that way. Yep.
Can anybody amend it, or?
Well, it's best for the person that made the motion to amend it. Do you want to amend the motion?
Yes.
Yeah. To July 1st?
Yes, I'll amend the motion to where this begins July 1st.
Alright.
They can begin to cash in on it. Looks like it's.
For the
says
20-year part.
Yeah, for the 20 years, it begins on their anniversary month, but we can make it begin July 1st.
Okay. I'm gonna put a note here that starts July 1st, the 20 days of vacation for 20-year employees. All right. You still want to second that?
I'll second it.
All right. So we got a motion and a second that the revision of the personnel policies will be changed, but the 20 days of vacation for 20-year employees will not begin until July 1st. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Motion passes. We do have on our agenda a jail discussion, if anybody wants to discuss anything pertaining to that.
So, jail discussion? Yeah, as we discussed Thursday night.
Make sure your mic's on and close to you.
Pardon?
Your mic. Is that on?
It's on. There's just no light. My light didn't light up. People say I'm like that all the time. My light doesn't always open. Make a motion that Trainer, Architect, and Bell Construction be approved to evaluate our current jail to find out what can be done to upgrade to TCI standards, how many beds we would pick up, what the cost of the upgrade would be, and what we would build next to the current facility on the land we own, and the cost to give us the numbers TCI is requiring. Now, these are strictly estimates. We will not know any final cost on anything we do until we actually have architect drawings and we send them out for bids. And those on the purchasing committee, we bid out the health department last week, and there was like 9 people had been invited to bid, and I think we had 6 bids. So I would think on something like this, we'd get a lot of bids on it. But these are strictly estimates to help us make a decision that we need to make.
Right. All right, that was a long motion, and I'm not going to reinstate all that. We might need to share that with Judy so she can record that in the minutes of that motion. It's a little lengthy, but that.
Actually, part of it's an editorial too, so.
Okay. Would anybody like to second Larry's motion?
I'll second Larry's motion.
Seconded by Greg Matthews. Is there any discussion?
What are we going to compare it to?
At the present time, we don't really have a comparison to compare it to. We will still see what the cost is there, and then from that, they would be able to give us an estimated cost of what it would do to build it on a green space. We pretty much have some drawings that they've done before and it was on a 4-story jail, and this would be, all they have to do is take those stories off and put them down and put them on everything on one level, if we have enough land to do that. So they could put that together probably pretty quick for us. This, they said it would take probably till early June.
I would just like to see it itemized where if the cost of current location versus a possibility of a cost of a different location.
So are they going to give us an estimate of just how many beds they could feasibly fit on the current property and then the property next to it that's been offered for sale?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things that we did not discuss on Thursday night was the impact not only of building a bigger jail on the current site, but the construction impact while that was going on. And we are going to need to assess that once we have this estimate, because this estimate is not going to include that. And yet, we've already heard tonight from multiple people, and we've received here a printout from someone else who is also in favor of it not being in the current location, that's involved in real estate and business in this county. But we're going to need to assess that, in particular, the impact during construction, because we've been around that tree before. So this is a bigger issue than just building it on the current site. It's the impact of building it on the current site. And I know that there's members of the public that would just like to have it there because they don't want it in their backyard, but that's not good enough. We're going to need to assess what the impact of this is to the downtown area, and not only after it's built, but while it's being done. And I think the being done part is going to be pretty significant.
And Larry, I think you had specified too that the goal here was to keep the current structure as is, so inmates could be housed while construction is going on for the other areas.
Yes, if we decided to go down this road, we would have to build a new, we would have to, once they can tell us how many beds we would get out of the old facility, which we're probably not gonna get 52 beds.
It's 42.
Because TCI has already said we don't have space. Once we determine how many beds we would get in that, then you'd know how many beds you could build, would have to build new. So you would build the new part, then move everybody into that, and then refurbish the old part. But I agree with what Tom, and I agree with what Andy says. I think probably at the same time they're doing this, they could also take these down and determine what it would cost to build on a green space. I think they can probably do this, do them simultaneously.
Right.
One thing that's going to affect it is how many beds are we going to build, because we have never reached a decision
Right.
about how many beds we're going to build. TCI has never really come back and said, you got to have an X number of beds. I mean, we know what their study said. Their study said we need 270 beds, and we said there's no way we can afford 270 beds. They said we need 240 right now. Well, we can't afford 240. So even when we talked about 190 beds, that was a compromise. But they did give us prices on 150, 190, and 220. So we did, and so we have those estimates on that. But that was all in 3- and 4-story buildings downtown. So it would probably be a different cost estimate if you were going to take those down and build everything on one level and build it on a green space, which also again goes back to what Tom is talking about, because building downtown, and Daniel may be able to address it better because he works in an industry that builds in downtown Nashville all the time. You can't bring your materials in and stage them like you can if you're building out someplace where you've got plenty of land to build it on. So you'd have to build it then and bring your materials in just as you needed them. So you can't stage anything in advance, which is going to require a lot of coordination in the construction people, and you're going to have different people in there bidding, or different people in there building different parts. So yeah, there's that issue too. All this would do would give us, I think is what some people would say, due diligence about what it would actually cost, or be a cost estimate downtown versus someplace else.
But this won't be including if they hit asbestos, or if they hit lead pipes, or anything that won't be included in that estimate.
No.
And I'm not a contractor. We've got one here that's been doing it for 30 years. I'd love to get an idea if there is asbestos, what does that cost to remediate that? And can we ask Ken, can you give us an idea, percentage?
have to do a
full disclosure, I've known Ken for a little while. His company, the same company that's helping with the Titan Stadium. So they're no little projects. They do big projects like what we're doing.
But now, what this gentleman was just talking about, the same things could happen on a new site too as well, couldn't he?
No, not as fast as that, no.
You can't run into unforeseen things on a new site either?
Very few. The risk is a lot lower on a new site, very few. You guys occasionally need burial ground or Civil War veteran or somebody that was buried there. You might have an issue, but aside from those, which is very slim, you don't have issues like that. You also run into the existing structure, including the foundation, and whether or not that can sustain your current code. Wind requirements, tornado requirements, are a whole lot different now than 100 years ago, 50 years ago, when that was built. So there's a whole lot that happens, and there's a lot of cause and effect that whether or not that first number is reliable, that'll be the question. You really have to sit through it and ask and dig in and really prepare for the work.
And sorry to put you on the spot, Ken.
So the point that I was trying to make was simply that getting a cost for building it on the current site is not sufficient. There will also be a cost to the downtown area because of it'll be a construction site. And we've already heard months ago that that's like 2 years, maybe more. Then there is the comments we've heard tonight from business people operating in downtown about what potentially having an expanded jail in the downtown area of Smithville, the impact that would have on business for Smithville and DeKalb County. So my point is that a comprehensive cost has to include all those.
I mean, I think it's important that we take this step to get the cost, but I'd like to still see a cost comparison instead of just a cost downtown, because some of the public still have the $65 million in their head. Well, we're just looking to build a jail and not a judicial center this go around. So that cost should be less anyway. So, but it's still going to be considerable, and especially if you build it downtown. But I think it's still going to be an important step for us to do this, to make to show what the cost would be. But again, I'd just like to see it broke down to downtown, somewhere else. I mean, impact cost possibly, if that can be even there. But I mean, I think we need to do this, but I'd just like to see comparisons and not just a cost for downtown by itself.
I'm not suggesting that we don't do this. I believe that we need to do this as part of due diligence. I'm just saying, let's not lose sight of the fact that there's a bigger picture here than just the cost of building it on the current site.
Yeah, in answer to Andy, the mayor and the sheriff and I have a meeting next Tuesday with John and Rick, and we can ask them to break it down, to break down that 4-story building into one level and see what it will cost there. So that would give you your cost comparison.
So the 52 cents was for the $65 million bond. We done know the $65 million bond's done, it's over with. So is the budget committee looking at any of that going back? I mean, we're still holding cash, hoping for something that I'm telling you still ain't gonna be done. If they get your request done by June, we're wanting to study now the impact on the city limits, and that's gonna take more than a couple of weeks. So by July the 1st, we're still not gonna be no closer. Are we really gonna hold 52 cents, or are we gonna have a plan on giving 26 of it back? I mean, there should be a backup plan, because I'm telling you, none of this is gonna be done by July the 1st. I mean,
I was told that we can't
lower the,
keep the 51 cents in our debt service this long. It'll be an illegal sinking fund. I don't know how true that is. I have to find out if that's true, but I've heard that you can't do that. So they would either need to find what the cost is and say it's
what I'm
gonna
saying
cost
is,
45
if
cents
by
or
July the
whatever,
1st,
and
we ain't got our ducks together, property taxes go back down at least 26 cents.
we're gonna have to do something. Yeah, that'll be up to the budget committee. But
So if we have this cost comparison done early June, then we could all get back together and have a discussion about where we want to go with it.
any more discussion? All right, so we got a motion on the table. I can't repeat because it's really long. We got a second?
Yeah, I'll
We're gonna-
second.
We're gonna do a voice vote, since there was a lot of discussion.
Tom Chandler,
Can we kind of summarize this, can we kind of summarize the motion?
It was
You know, it's a long drawn out process,
Yeah.
but it's a summary of it.
So,
Okay, I'll give you a summary. The motion is for Trainer Architect and Bell Construction to evaluate our current jail to find out what can be done to upgrade the TCI standards, how many beds we would pick up, what the cost of the upgrade would be, and what we would build next to the current facility on the land we own, and the cost to give us the numbers TCI is requiring.
and then you added the Andy thing, right?
I didn't add anything else to it.
Okay, I got
I want to get through just one part of
you. I
it.
got you.
Current land owned only. Current land owned
Yes.
only. This is not exploring any other option other than the current land that we own right now. That's what that motion is about. Just making sure that
That's
all
correct.
13 of us understand.
And that's part of the motion. It says, next to the current facility on the land we own. So,
Clear as mud.
I'm ready.
All right. Go ahead, Dean.
I come ready.
Tom Chandler,
Yes.
Tony Luna,
No.
Larry Green,
yes.
Beth Pafford,
Yes.
Myron Rhodey,
Yes.
Greg Matthews,
Yes.
Andy Pack,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
Yes.
Brandon Donnell,
Yes.
Daniel Cripps,
Yes.
Jeff Barnes,
Yes.
Sabrina Farler,
Yes.
12 yes.
All right, motion passes. So Larry will be working on that.
Yes.
And, other business, our EMS director, Trent Phillips, passed out a,
Before you go
sorry.
forward, I have another motion related to his,
okay, yes.
about the jail discussion.
Yes, absolutely.
I would like to make a motion to also explore if we purchase the additional land, what it would look like. A second option.
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
We got
Same
'em.
thing, if that makes sense.
Right.
But a second option, a plan B, on this piece of property for our committee, because I think
Right.
that's one thing that we have continued to hear discussion about, or I get telephone calls to also, if we purchased that adjacent land there, that.
Talking about the Kirby property.
Yes, the property that's there beside it, yes, if, I don't know why I hate to use the name, but the property that we've talked about, that was proposed on one of those sheets,
Right.
that, if we did that, what option would look like that from the architect also?
I have a question. What are we gonna compare these numbers to? Building a jail somewhere else, are we gonna have this number versus this number?
That's what,
I don't get it, I hadn't heard that answer.
that's my concern. I mean, we're throwing out one price, and we know it's gonna be less than what we've talked about in the past, but we have nothing to compare it to. We're not comparing apples to apples, we're comparing apples to nothing.
That's why I voted no on that, because it's not a fair comparison.
It's not a fair comparison.
I don't
That's
So,
think it's a merit.
well, A couple things. One, I think really the only way to do this is to say, okay, at the current site, how many beds could fit? One level. I mean, we're going to need a couple options, whether, can we update the current jail? Well, I mean, I guess we can, but I know the bed count, I think, then drops to 42. So then how many more beds can we fit on the current property? And if we were to buy the adjacent property, how many more beds would that get us? And then we'll say that comes out to, just say it came out to 150 beds. And then we would say, okay, at a different location, what would 150 beds cost? I'm sure it would be similar to the design we had looked at a year ago with 190 beds, just shrunken down. And then, of course, without the judicial center, that's going to be the only way to compare it, is to see what is really possible in the current location and then have those options in a new location. And I would also, did he mention these estimates? I know they're kind of quick. They're hurrying to get us these estimates, but are these going to be a not to exceed cost like they were last year? Do we know?
I'm sorry, they're what?
Are the estimates that we get in June, are these going to be, a not to exceed cost? Like if they say it's 30 million, we know for sure it's not going to be any more than 30 million. Last year we had a not to exceed cost, so at $65 million, well actually it was 63, they guaranteed it would not be more expensive than that. When they bid the current property again, did they mention if it would be a not to exceed cost?
We didn't talk about that.
Okay.
Well, I think right now we're just getting an estimate. We're not asking them to give
We're
us
just
a
getting
bid.
estimates.
And they're doing it for free, correct?
They're doing it for free, yeah.
I mean, what is this county losing by somebody doing the work for you for free?
I can talk to John tomorrow and see if we can add this comparison in and still have the figures by early June.
So let's go back to the timeline we're working on. If Matt is correct, that if we haven't come together with some plan, that we're going to have to repeal the current sales tax increase, then the only avoiding of that is that when these numbers come in, we make a plan that says that we're going to move forward with a jail, whether it be on the current location or some other location, with these estimates that we've gotten as the sort of benchmark, not to exceed, just as we did with the last bond proposal. But in order to preserve all or as much as possible of that sales tax increase to pay for the jail, we're going to have to approve moving forward with some kind of bond issue to build a jail. Whether it be on the current site or some other site. Otherwise, for the 25-26 budget year, we're going to do nothing other than repeal the sales tax increase.
Property tax.
Property tax.
Excuse me, property tax increase.
Yeah, you just can't keep it in your debt service fund. From what I was told, it would either need to go to the general fund or some other fund other than debt service, or be, like you said, repealed.
So you mean we could hide it under another
You could. I'm not suggesting doing
Well,
anything.
it could be reallocated to capital
I'm saying
projects
that
or something like that.
That funding cannot just keep going toward debt that doesn't exist. It has to either go to your general fund, your capital projects, or go back or cut the tax rate.
Could
back.
we later move it back to debt service
Yes,
if we put it in the general fund?
yes, but
Okay.
I think
But it's that kind of
Yeah.
discussion
Right.
we're going to have, because come June, even with these numbers, we are only going to be partially caught. We are not going to be fully armed and loaded. We're not. Because I agree with Andy, we're just going to have one set of numbers with nothing to compare that against. For example, building a jail on another location, other than to say, okay, these estimate numbers that we got for doing it on the current site become the not to exceed numbers. which may be just fine, because we've already done this analysis, and it was like $5 million more to build it on the current site.
Where did that $5 million number come from if we didn't have nothing to compare it to? Where did they just pull that number out of?
Well, that number came from comparing the cost, the estimated cost from building, when we were looking at a justice center, of building the justice center in a different location versus building the justice center on the current site, and all the issues inherent with building on the current location. And essentially, we're talking about doing the same thing, because we're instead of turning the old jail into courthouse, we're now talking about turning the old jail into cells.
Well, to go back to what we were talking about, when we were talking about building a justice center over there, we were talking about building a brand-new jail and then tearing down the old jail and building the courtrooms. That's where the $5 million more came in if we built a criminal justice center there, which is not what we're talking. We're not talking about tearing down the old jail right now.
Well, I understand that, but we're also talking about bringing the old jail up to today's standards.
Not the old jail, the annex. Not the old jail.
To me, they're one and the same.
They're not. They're two separate structures. There's two separate ages.
TCI considers them to be one.
Well, but if you close the old portion down, they can't judge the annex by the old jail. If there's no inmates being kept there, it doesn't have to meet specs.
Okay, we got a motion. Sabrina. Can you reinstate that motion?
Sure. I just wanted from the same motion that Larry did as a Plan B, as another option, and add that adjacent land option. So his sticks, and we want to add that land beside it as an option. So two options we would have for the current property.
Right.
I don't know if that's the right terminology, but
Right.
does
So
that
you're
make
talking about
sense?
Miss Diane Kirby's piece
Yes.
of property there.
Yes, if we
to the
did
side.
purchase, if the county did purchase that, what it would look like to keep it as low,
Right.
on a one footprint.
Yep.
Another footprint option.
All right. Would anybody like to second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Myron. Right.
Matthias seconded.
Yeah, Matthias already seconded.
All right.
All right. So we went through discussion. Everybody all right with what we're voting on? Everybody know what we're voting?
I'm still not clear.
So
They're gonna give us
Get
a,
something off, you want more than one bid. Why can't we have both places to build a jail? You need a quote on two places, not just one. What are you gonna compare it with? You don't have no comparison. So I'd like to change my vote while I go to yes to no.
I would just like to point out, Glenn, this ain't a bid. This ain't for them to get a job. This ain't nothing for them that's gonna get paid to them. They're just gonna come, because they've been a part of this longer than we have, and they know the most about this, just to kind of give an estimate what it would cost.
But I
Then we can ask for bids from Bell and all these other places,
But I still think it's fair for the public to see comparison prices on what we're trying to accomplish here. I mean, again, I think it's important for us to go down this alley, but you still need comparisons for the public to see. You show them one price, well, there's that, I mean, that's what it costs. Well, maybe not, maybe so.
then we need to get how much these companies are gonna charge us to come in here and do this. They're doing it for free is the only reason we're asking them to do it. So if anybody knows some random companies that'll come in and do it for free, excellent. If not, we need prices. I mean, we can't just,
So
Did we not have an estimate quoted to us about a year or so ago as to what a single bed sale average cost was per bed? Did we not have that? And was that not $225,000
$225,000.
in a single bed sale? Now, you get multiple beds in there too, your cost is a little less. You get 4, your cost is even less. Now, I know the sheriff wants to talk about segregation, and I understand that. And I forgot what the actual terminology is, where they classify them, the classification. And I understand that, but I also understand you can have multiple bed sales and still function properly. I know you have to have so many singles, I realize that. You got problems. You got to put them in a single bed sale. but all that contributes to the price and the cost. And you're talking about comparing apples to apples, $225,000 a single bed is going to be wherever you build it, just like square footage of a home. The pre-construction may cost more. If the spot is not suitable, you got to get it suitable. But the actual construction, if it's $1,000 a square foot, it's $1,000 a square foot wherever you build it. So we got something to compare it to.
Can we ask Bell, can we ask them to give us an estimate on the current location and just a one-level site? Doesn't matter the location, just a one-level facility. And I think that would help us do the comparison.
Yes.
And we also know that anybody in construction knows that one level is more expensive to build than two or three, because you got double the square footage of the foundation, double the roof. If you go single, if you go double, it costs you're going to have to build up. You got a little more maintenance during the after build of upkeep and stuff, but it costs much less to build 2 stories than one and spread it out.
All right, let's let Patrick talk for a second.
Your classification is a TCI standard. That's not, you don't have no choice with that. But also you were talking about the certification on 2 buildings. There's a different way to look at that. That is correct. We have one that is now, there were 2 buildings, but we are certified in those 52 beds with almost half on the old side. The rest of it's in the annex. So if you're not going to do anything to that, then you're going to lose almost half of your beds in the old side. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
The annex could be easier certified without the old 60-plus-year-old jail, because it's a 24-year-old structure.
I don't know anything about that part
Well,
of it. I just know that
common sense would tell us that.
Not necessarily. And not only that, but if you just think in your head, if you've been over there in that annex, and think of the space that's in that annex, and think now that you're going to try to turn the inside of that annex into cells. First of all, it's pretty high. It's probably not logical to think that you can get 2 stories there. So you're just looking at the footprint of the annex, and now you got to have hallway and cells. You're not going to get a lot of cells in that annex. And I don't care if they're 1 person or 2. And you're certainly not going to get a second floor in there. I'm pretty sure about that.
If the goal is to take the dormitory area and turn it into individual cells, then we will absolutely lose bed space. The clear floor space requirement for a dormitory is less per prisoner than it is if they're in an actual cell, in a 1, 2, 4-man cell. So the whole annex was certified at the time for 32 beds, I believe. And in 2018, they increased the clear floor space requirement. So if we go in and renovate the annex, we would have to go by the new standard, which would make it even less than 32. So.
And you got, again, it isn't just cells, it's a hallway, and you got a layout that would make sense if you had cells as opposed to just this open area that you got now. I'd be surprised if you can get half of the prisoners in there that you can get in there now.
All right. Yeah. I was getting there. Yeah.
That's all. That's got nothing to do with Sabrina's.
Yeah. So Sabrina made a motion to do the same thing Larry talked about doing, but include the piece of property that Miss Diane Kirby owns off to the side or adjacent of it. So we got a motion. We got a second. Clerk, I would like for you to call the roll.
Tom Chandler.
Yes.
Tony Luna. Yes. Larry Green.
No.
Beth Pafford.
Yes.
Myron Rhodey.
Yes.
Greg Matthews.
Yes.
Andy Pack.
Yes.
Matthias Anderson.
Yes.
Glenn Merriman.
No.
Brandon Donnell.
Yes.
Daniel Cripps,
Yes.
Jeff Barnes,
Yes.
Sabrina Farler.
Yes.
11 yes.
All right, motion passes. All right, so I got one item of new business from Director Phillips.
Mayor, I have another motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
We should
I didn't write it down. The third motion would be to do I don't know how many bed, to do a one-level option that could be on either one of the other two properties that are away from the city, I guess where its current location.
So on a different
Piece of property.
We're not talking about a specific property, we're just talking
An
about a
estimate
different.
provided
on a green side.
on a green side, is that the right
One
property?
level
Yes.
green
Yeah,
side.
A third option
Get this
with an
going.
estimate, I think the words that was used from Larry's, get an estimate for a third option that would be a one level. I guess we probably need to say a bed count number.
Comparable to the one they're giving us downtown.
Comparable to the one they're giving us downtown.
Bam. All right.
Second.
Motion by Sabrina that we also look at a different green site
Estimate.
estimate. One level comparable to whatever they come up with at the current site. Price estimate. And Andy seconded that. Is there any discussion?
Should we agree on a bed count before we start this?
I
We
think
can.
the part is you don't know how many beds you're gonna get in the current site.
Well,
So I
my
think that's why
concern
they're
is,
resistant to ask.
regardless of what the cost is, whether it's at the current location or a new location, if the current location can only hold at a single level, say 100 people,
Right. So do you
I
want?
don't want to waste time looking at another location for 100 people. We used to
Right.
have 102.
Do you want to do?
And we've been overcrowded
what's
for-
comparable plus another option? Like 100?
Well, what's going to happen is if they come back and say, well, we can do 100 beds there for however many million, then,
Well, we can
does
take
that
the-
help us? Because if we don't, we have to.
You can
I mean,
take that number, that bed count, and break it down by percentage of however many beds you want to go to.
You could do bed count for the current location, for Plan A, bed count for the option B, which is a little bit more additional land, comparable, so you have two options. And then we would know from that, it would go up higher than that if we were increasing that.
And it just gives us an idea.
So just an estimate.
So now we're completely going away from the very first original motion for
No.
them to get with the state
No.
to
No,
figure out
we're
how
looking
many
at all
beds
these things. This
to get to, no, now we're choosing to add two.
Well,
The original motion was for them to get with the state to see what we would need to meet state standards, nothing more, nothing less. Now we're getting all of that plus, let's just go ahead and get this and then that one. Well,
I don't
the
really
last
have
two
never-
motions
we
are
have-
now
We have
pointless.
never reached an agreement with TCI as to how many beds we can, a minimum number of beds we can actually get by with.
depends on
We don't
your
know what we can
inmates.
afford.
I mean, it all
Correct.
depends on
And
your
until we get
population
these
of
costs done, we're not gonna know what we can afford.
Until we get that number, and if it comes back, it's only 80 beds or whatever, we can call another meeting.
We
I mean,
need
we've
a,
had 5 million of these so far. We can have 5 million in one.
All right, I think we can beat this all night
We can.
long. We got a motion by Sabrina to look at a green site, one level, comparable to the current location.
yes.
Andy seconded that. Jimmy?
Tom Chandler?
Yes.
Tom Chandler?
I think I'm going to say yes.
Tony Luna?
Yes.
Larry Green?
Yes.
Beth Pafford?
Yes.
Myron Rhodey?
Yes.
Greg Matthews?
No.
Andy Pack?
Yes.
Matthias Anderson?
Yes.
Glenn Merriman?
Yes.
Brandon Donnell?
Yes.
Daniel Cripps?
Yes.
Jeff Barnes?
Yes.
Sabrina Farler?
Yes.
13 yes.
All right, motion passes. Is there any more discussion from any commissioners or other business anybody has before we?
Make a correction on that. That was 12 yes. We have 13 total that came in. We're still absent one commissioner tonight, so it's 12 yes, 1 no.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioner got any other business?
Yes.
Okay.
As a commissioner from District 1, as well as being an avid user of what has been referred to as the Buffalo Valley Convenience Waste Site, which I would have called the Wolf Creek, Medley Amanette, Dale Ridge Waste Site. I'm at a loss with this waste site disappearing. It is a site that my wife and I use regularly, every week. There was a discussion that had at the county commission about this site and the possible need to remove it, and suddenly it was gone. I was surprised that it was gone. It needs to be replaced, and I would say desperately. If you look at a map and a layout of DeKalb County, and in particular District 1, and the area that is now left blank as far as a waste site in District 1, it's pretty sizable. While I would say that when I leave my house, there are basically 3 ways I can go. It's about 3 miles to Temperance Hall, but you got to be headed toward Temperance Hall to a convenience site. It's about 7 miles to the one at Snow Hill from my house, and it was about 6 miles from my house to the one at Wolf Creek. But since I go to Cookville a lot, and that's the way I go, it was very convenient to go there. And I'm sure there's no surprise to me that people in that area were caught dumbfounded when this waste disposal site disappeared. And I would urge our waste management manager and this commission to find some replacement for this convenience site in that general area fairly quickly. While there is a convenience site at Silver Point, it's not really at Silver Point. It's more toward the lake than it is Interstate 40. And it would, even to be in reasonable proximity, it would actually need to be in Silver Point to be convenient for people that have been using this site. So again, I was surprised, even though there was a discussion here at the county commission about the possible need to remove this site, that it just suddenly disappeared. And it needs to be replaced. We've sort of been dragging, we've been stringing these people along in the Wolf Creek area about a fire station now for several years. And not only have we not delivered on the fire station, I realize we've been held up by the Corps of Engineers in the state, but not only do they not have a fire station, but now we jerk their convenience center out from underneath them. So again, I strongly suggest that this commission and our waste management people move to find a solution for a convenience site for the Wolf Creek, Buffalo Valley, Medley, Amanette, Edgar Evans, Western Dale Ridge communities as soon as possible.
Did we not at one time have dumpsters across from Cove Hollow Boat Dock? At one time, years ago?
Yes, we did. And it was that, I used that site too.
Right,
That
I
was
remember
even
that.
closer to me. That one was removed because of dumping around that site. So in the dumping vein, let me point out that Medley Amanette, Dale Ridge are the entry points to Edgar Evans State Park and Center Hill Lake. People that are going to come in off of the interstate and are coming in off of the interstate for recreation in District 1 of DeKalb County now have no place to dump their trash other than possibly off the side of the road. And I think that's what the gentleman that got up and spoke about this was very much concerned about. And I would be concerned about that, because I've had everything dumped on my property from office chairs to refrigerators. So this is again, if you look at a map, there's a very sizable hole now in our convenience site servicing in District 1 and DeKalb County that is the gateway to a large portion of the tourist traffic that comes into DeKalb County.
Well, Tom, as you spoke, I don't think the commission voted to have them taken. So I don't know what the commission can do to get them back. Do I personally have an issue with it? No. I mean, I don't know if somebody's looking for somebody to be told to put them back. I think that falls under Matt and the director.
Well, TDOT told us to remove them.
Yes.
And we don't own any property over there. I understand it's a big inconvenience, and I hate that community's suffering with that. But of course, we didn't want to do that either. You know, our guys have to go over there and clean it up. So, I mean, it's not something that we wanted, by no means. But
Mr. Mayor, would it be appropriate to make a motion to refer that to Public Works?
yes,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
motion by Larry to refer the situation to Public Works, seconded by Myron Rhodey. Any discussion?
I would suggest we look for a piece of property over there, and not only just for a convenience site, let's look for a big enough piece of property that if the Corps keeps dragging around, that we could possibly build a station there and have an adjoining lot that would have the convenience site on it. I don't know if that's a possibility, but at least we could look for it.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. Any more discussion? Oh, no, sit down. No. All right. Hey, that's enough. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Any other commissioner with any business? All right. Director Phillips from the ambulance service asked for us to amend his policy, ambulance service policy for non-emergency night transfers, section E in his book. He did provide a paper, I believe. I think y'all have. The old policy was on the back and the new one's in the front. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve this new policy change?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Tom, seconded by Ms. Beth Pafford. Is there any discussion?
I would like to know what the volume of 911 calls and out-of-town trips are. And could you compare that to, say, the last 3 years? Give us a comparison of just how many trips we're making.
Maybe he can provide that to the next Health, Education, Public Welfare Committee?
Well, I spoke to Brad.
Yeah.
After last month's meeting, and the lady made her statement about EMS not doing nothing. You know, that's not a very nice thing to say, whether they are or not, who knows? So I called Brad, and the numbers have dropped almost half in the last 3 years. I mean, that's 911 numbers, nothing I'm throwing out there. Now, 911 don't keep track of what Ascension's ambulance does. He says that's nothing we do, they don't report to us, and they probably won't give us the numbers anyway. But as far as 911, their numbers have been about half of what it used to be, so. Just throwing that out there.
Any more discussion? All right. We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Me.
True.
All right, let's do a voice vote. Roll call. Brother?
Tom Chandler,
Yes.
Tony Luna,
Yes.
Larry Green,
No.
Beth Pafford,
Yes.
Byron Rhodey,
Yes.
Greg Matthews,
No.
Andy Pack,
Yes.
Matthias Anderson,
Yes.
Glenn Merriman,
No.
Brandon Donnell,
Yes.
Daniel Cripps,
No.
Jeff Barnes,
Yes.
Sabrina Farler,
Yes.
nine yes.
All right, motion passes. All right. Now we have notaries. Got Miss Sarah Cripps and Joyce Subotka.
I recommend this, we accept them.
Motion by Tom.
Second.
Seconded by Myron. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion
Make a
passes.
motion to adjourn.
Motion by Jeff Barnes to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded by Myron Rhodey. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.